Jaime from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today card 2 in my So Amazing stamp set series featuring lawn fawns, So Very Mice, and Sewn with Love stamp set. If you are interested in the color guides that I used for this one, they will be on my blog post at InkyandScrappy.com. So, you know how you color things and you don't necessarily have an idea in mind, you're just coloring images to color images. And I went through my paper packs after the fact and pulled out the colors that coordinated with what I'd already colored. And so happy accidents do happen sometimes. And that cute and crafty paper pack from Doodlebug matched perfectly with my colored images. No, I did not plan that. It was totally just on a whim. So I did end up using the 6x6 instead of the 12x12 for this one, just because I'd already had pieces of it cut up, so for cards I like to use scraps when at all possible, so I'm not breaking into a new full sheet of cardstock. And so this one just happened to have that teal sewing machine on it. And so I was looking at it and I'm like, that goes like perfectly with the one I just got done coloring and cutting out. So it was just meant to be. And I totally brought the card design in from all of those elements that are on that background piece of paper there. And so, you know, drawing inspiration from pattern paper is a huge thing for me. And so this one was just so easy to kind of do and go from there. And I did decide on a circle element. I love bringing in the scallops and then a circle to build my scene in. It's a little easier, or shall I say less daunting than doing the full card front in a scene. And this one wasn't really it was a scene, but it's not my typical scene, if that makes sense. And so this one came together fairly quickly overall. And angling that stamp, lining it up, if you watched, I lined it up so I pushed my circle on the back side of my Misty cover and then lined up my thing. I know it was upside down. It really didn't matter to me because it's a circle. So I'm going to, you know, turn it any which way anyways. And so this way I could get it lined up where I wanted it, butted in there. Make sure my pattern on my circle was where I wanted it. I did go with that rainbow notebook paper that is in that paper pack from Doodlebug. And then I loved the little cutesy smiley face on the sewing machine on the pattern paper. So I did bring that in for my sewing machine. So I did bring in the Just My Type stamp set for the face on this one. There are multiple ones in the lawn fawn sets to use those. I do actually bring in the Just My Type stamp set in some future cards, so you will see that one again. And yes, you get my freshly washed head in the background. And yes, I'm wearing a bright yellow shirt, and it definitely reflected a little bit in my Misty door and on my work surface. So I have a yellow glow to me today. Thank my father for that. It was one of his work shirts, so I have been wearing them as PJs because, you know, they go down to my knees and they're big and baggy and just, you know, it is what it is. So once I have my focal sewing machine on there, I'm going to bring in some foam adhesives to pop up some of the pieces, and I'm just kind of building my scene from there, taking some of the elements that are in that background pattern paper. So my key focal elements there are going to be the pin cushion, the sewing machine, and the scissors. And then the rest I just brought in for filler, basically. I probably could have just done those three and it would have looked perfectly fine. But, you know, I like to make sure I have a nice and full scene. And so I brought in some of the buttons. I think the buttons are from the they're from the Sewn with Love stamp set, as is the thimble that I bring in and Did I use? I have to look, sorry. I did do the smaller scissors, so that one is with the So Very Mice, as well as the spool of thread on this one. And so I will add, I kind of went back and forth, and having multiple things colored and at the ready makes it easy to just grab, especially when they're all colored similarly. So they all kind of have the same color theme. So this way I could bring in that pink spool instead of the teal one, just because I felt it was too much teal with that larger sewing machine in teal. And then, of course, bringing in some of the other elements, and I can pick and choose which ones I want if I think it needs to be a little fuller and those types of things. I did decide to bring in some actual thread. Now, I probably could have gone with a thicker black thread on this one. This one ends up being navy blue sewing thread. Why navy blue? Because that's what I had in my stash of sewing stuff, because I had fixed a dress and that was the color that I had. I think I have black. It's probably upstairs. And I was just, this one was handy. It's dark enough blue that it really didn't matter. You can't really tell that it's blue in the finished card. It's pretty dark. So I had gone with a huge amount of thread here. I realize it's a huge amount in a little bit here, and I do end up cutting it off, or cutting it in half basically, and cutting a bunch. It just was too much for this, I guess, for the images that were involved in this one. And so I end up pulling it up here and cutting it in half. Now I'm using my older scissors to cut this. It is not a great thread scissors. I probably should have brought out my haberdashery scissors, which is actually sharp and cuts fabric and thread well. But you know how we have all the things, but then we're just in the zone, and so we don't bring out all the things because it would have required me to stop what I was doing and actually look for them. I'm bringing in Trinity Stamps Cave Crystals here. They are probably one of my favorite Trinity Stamps. Crystal, I don't know, sequence style embellishments. They're kind of clear. They've got that iridescent look to them, and they just go with so many things. I will use them a lot for this card series. They just go with so many things. So I'm adding in a little bit of bling on this one. I just felt it needed a little bit of sparkle and a little bit more they kind of remind me of buttons in this case, because they're not, I don't know, they don't have the hole in it, but they kind of just have that circular, small, shiny look to them that kind of, you know, gives me that button feel. And then, of course, I needed to bring in some glossy accents, and so I glossed the thimble, the scissor, like the metal part on the scissors, the top part where your thread would hold onto the top of the sewing machine, and then, of course, my pins in my pin cushion had to have enamel on them, so they did as well. And then I will bring in some diamond sickles here just to add a little bit of glitter to my sewing machine and my buttons, because, you know, we have to glitter all of the things. And there is my completed card for number 2 in my So Amazing card series. I hope you have an amazing day. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, say hi. Have a great one. Bye.